I've often been under the impression that I was being attacked because I was a woman, a Quebecer, an environmentalist, because I was known. I don't know. But if ever one day Mr. Perkins wants to go out for coffee, it will be my pleasure to talk with him and to understand what his profound reasons are for attacking a Canadian woman devoted to building businesses.
Mr. Perkins, you have the floor for 5 minutes, please.
The Auditor General raised almost $400 million of funds that were either conflicted or spent outside the terms of the agreement. That's my concern, on behalf of taxpayers. My concern, I'm sorry if it offends you, that by your own admission, your companies received $10.4 million while you're on the board. But that's not my concern that you feel offended by it. My concern is that you clearly were in a conflict of interest. Now, I want to go in a different vein. On your time on the board, you, according to the Lobbyist Register, you lobbied government 51 times. Now, I don't know if you were in the meetings. It's under your name. Between 2016 and 2021 for various aspects of STTC's needs. 47 times on those registrations prior to his election, Stephen Guilbeault is listed. Were you both doing the lobbying together, or was Mr. Guilbeault doing it on his own?
First, those meetings followed all of the lobbying rules. And if you've read about them, it's because they were declared. And Stephen Guilbeault and I traveled across the country subsequent to a study done showing underfunding. Believe it or not, we met with politicians in Alberta. This was before Stephen Guilbeault was in politics. We traveled to Halifax, Ontario, Quebec, federal. Could you please leave?
I was very... Well, so it's true. He was in lobbying 47 times. 11 were with the Prime Minister's office, including Mr. Butts, 2 with Minister Baines, actually 6 times with future Minister Champagne. So it appears that you had a lot of high-level access in Ottawa to those folks. You mentioned Mr. Guilbeault's interest as some sort of compensation. He lists it still, that he has it on his public disclosure of conflict of interest. So since the time that you were on the board until recently, the value of your company has gone up 6 times. So is it fair to say that Mr. Guilbeault's investments, whatever those are, has gone up 6 times?
Okay.
Let's settle this very simply. Mr. Guilbeault has passive interest, and when he left, his interest ended and the value has not increased. You are confusing asset management and values. Second point, Mr. Perkins, you were at the CIB when you granted employees at CIB, when they managed funds, the right to passive interests. And Mr. Guilbeault got the exact same treatment as any advisor for any capital risk fund.
Of interest in 2023, which list an interest in Cycle Capital, is incorrect, that he made a false disclosure of conflict of interest?
Monsieur
Mr. Guilbeault has to make those declarations, given that he had those interests as a kind of a performance bonus. So he has to declare that. It's his responsibility.
He owns, not what he used to own in some time before he was elected. It's what he currently owns, and he's still listed.
Il y a toujours,
so
pour répondre à votre question,
To answer your question, Mr. Perkins, he's always, had what he says, because we are the ones to provide him with the information each year, and it's reviewed by our...
Declare it. I'll move on. How many investments and what's the value that Brookfield has made in your funds?
Who?
Brookfield. Brookfield Management.
Ils étaient des investisseurs de notre...
They were investors in our first fund, which underperformed. compared to the current.
On all your press releases as an industrial partner. What's an industrial partner?
Les partenaires industriels.
Industrial partners, of which we have several, L'Oréal, Hydro-Quebec, Alouette, Alcan, Brookfield, are private corporate businesses or public on the markets that decide to invest in investment funds. And they are
The financing partner on your funds. In 2017,
A very quick question.
Non, attendez, attendez.
in 20
can I? May I?
As time
Monsieur Perkins a le temps pour une dernière question.
from you, then I'm going to go to Ms. Bradford. Mr. Perkins, a short question, no preamble, please.
In 2017, you made an investment with a Chinese state-owned enterprise. They're an investor with you, and you have an office in China. Are you following the Chinese National Security Act that requires those who operate in China to spy and steal technology?
Point of order, Mr. Chair. As much as I have no idea what the heck that has to do with SDTC. If the member wants to put a motion forward to go after those, I'm sure we could, but I don't see how this relates to our study.
Madame Metelati, réponse ou...
I'm not a Chinese spy.